Hello, in this video we're going to prep our model to be sent to Substance Painter to do the look div. So now that we have our table, and I'm going to hit display just so I can make sure I can see this texture. I'm going to go to UV editing and I am going to turn on this grid. I'm going to select it and turn on the grid. So if I hit 3 right now, everything looks fine except for there's spots where we have a seam and you see this like stretching. See how it kind of smooths that way? And let's see if we can show that on here. Let me on this. Well, let me select this face right here, hit F, and you see how it's, if I hit 1, this is what it looks like without it smoothed. And then if I hit 3 and then put a display, you'll see why this is looking distorted. So there is a setting in our geometry that we need to change. So we need to go to the, let's go to the shape node of your model. So in here you'll have this like you'll have one that has like your transforms in it, and then next to that you'll see something like this. It's geo shape. You'll have to, if you have a really long list of stuff in here, that means you have to go to edit, delete all by type history. It keeps all your history and there's options. If you're done with the modeling, you probably are safe to delete the history. I do that all the time anyway, just to make my scene more stable. So let's fix this issue that is that you'll see on the edges of cuts like this. So let's go over here and we go to the look through here. So it is, if you click the tessellation attributes, then go down to smooth mesh, then go down here and change the UV boundary smoothing. It's by default this Maya Katma Clark. Just go over here and say preserve edges and corners, and now we don't have that stretching issue here, so that's good. But there's another problem, especially if we're using Substance Painter for texturing. Substance Painter doesn't have display smoothing in its application, so you have to pre-smooth your geometry and then export out. But there's a couple settings you have to be aware of. So we want to go to mesh and you'll notice them. So go to mesh and then go to the smooth option box. And I wouldn't do this to your original. I would duplicate it and just put like high or underscore high HI. So tablewood underscore high underscore geo. And in here I would set my divisions to 2, so I get a pretty dense geometry. Here, let me reset this. So set this to 2. Then go down. What we'll want is that same setting in the UV boundary smoothing to preserve edges and corners, and then hit apply to our new model. And then I'm going to hide this old one and then just take a look, and I'm going to go like that, turn off that, and just make sure I'm not seeing any. I want this to feel very clean looking, so it looks nice and smooth. We're not display smoothing it, so I had that display smooth, so watch out for that. And if you are seeing like the geometry almost in here, it's either that you put in like an edge loop really tight on a part and it's causing the edge to be noticed more because you made it that way. But there's another option in here and do mesh display, and if you set that to like harden edge, we'll see. You kind of see it here. See how that faceting is happening? It's because it's changing it's not smoothing between each face. It's a very hard edge. That can be useful if you're doing something where you need a really hard edge. But since we're doing smoothing during the render, we want this to be nice and clean. We probably should put sharpness in the actual model and not use the normals. So go to mesh display, and I would set this to soften to everything. I might select that whole object, mesh display, soften. Just make sure that looks good. Turn this off and just look around. Cello will look nice. Okay, so now that's good. Then we're going to take this high model and export it out. And I want you guys to use OBJ to export it out. So I'm going to go to File and go to Export Selection, and you have to be selecting that model, and then go to the option box. You can go to the pull down to OBJ Export. If you don't see that, you have to go to the settings and plugins. So go to settings and preferences, then plugin manager, and search OBJ, and then turn on auto load and loaded, and that will give you the option to go to OBJ export, and then export selection. I did this before just to test the process and make sure I'm not missing anything. I would just keep this all by default. So if you want to make sure that all these things are on, just keep these all on. And then, yeah. So now I'll just name this table underscore high. Something like HI or something like that. So you will have it, or just table is fine. Export. So that's good. And then this should be good. We'll bring this into Substance Painter and start painting on it.